Hello, 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 and welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race RHAP here on Reality TV Wrap Ups. I'm your host, Liana Boris. We are here to talk about Canada's Drag Race episode 1. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed the premiere, and I cannot wait to break it all down. With me to discuss this episode is our very own Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this too. I heard a lot of good things about this online. I was trying so hard to stay off because it premieres on Thursday, right? So I'm usually always on Twitter anyway, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch it on Thursday. So I was like, do I just stay off the whole day? Wait, what do I do? But for the most part, most people were very, very judicious with what they tweeted out. So I got a lot of good impressions off the bat, and finally watching it this morning, it's good. It's good. Like we'll get into all the things that we like, but I am hopeful that this will be a Canadian spinoff that doesn't just stop at one season, because that tends to happen a lot of the time when it comes to reality TV shows that get Canadian spinoffs.
Yes, exactly. And I think one of the things I also really liked was the fact that it's Canada's Drag Race. So the UK version still had RuPaul as sort of the main hostess and judge. And this was nice to see a little bit of a departure from that, because I think it makes me happy that Drag Race can exist without RuPaul. Love Ru, but times are changing. We're moving on.
It's time.
It's 2020.
It's time.
Yeah. We ain't no fracking up in here. So let's be prepared to see what the future has to hold. And I really thought that our 3 panelists of judges, and then I think they did, what was it, like the guest host, which was the guest, which I thought was kind of a cool way to handle that, was just so fun. Really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, they passed the torch on over to Canada, and sort of, obviously it's the same format. Some of the same lines and isms are still there, but for the most part, it did seem very fresh, which is what I was hoping that it would be, because sometimes, we get fatigued, okay? Like Drag Race, you get the regular season, then you get the All-Star season, and then in this case, we had a regular season and the celebrity season at the same time. So it's just like, it's too much. It's too much. So when they announced Canada's Drag Race, I was like, oh my God, I'm excited. But like, we're in the middle of All Stars. Like, it's just too, like, I need the novel. Where is the novelty? Where is it? Where is it? I'm getting too much and I'm getting full. But once again, pleasantly surprised. I feel like because of the fact that it's 3 judges that are sort of like all the main judge at the same time, and the fact that they give the guest host more autonomy in this format, I'm really liking that. I kind of feel like, it would never happen in the American version, but I kind of wish that there was more, guest judge like appearance. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like she was much more invested in the queens, more so than some of these guest judges that we get in the American version. So very refreshing. I had a really good time watching, and I hope that they continue to stay in this vein.
I had the exact same thoughts that you did. It was a little bit of burnout. Oh my gosh, we're doing another Drag Race season. But even within probably the first 5 to 6 minutes, I was like, oh, this feels different. This feels good. This feels refreshing. It feels like older seasons of Drag Race when I was still having like lots of fun without the overproduction. And we got to see a design challenge, which we've been talking about on the US version. Why are we having 3 improv challenges in a row? Like, can we please get a design challenge? And Canada's like, here you go. Enjoy your design challenge.
I think that really speaks to maybe the fact that the budget isn't all the way up there yet. I don't know much about TV production. I really don't. Like, I'm just speculating, but I feel like if it's it's the freshman season, they don't really know how it's going to go over well yet. So because I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure in that workroom I saw like a draft in there, and the bricks on the wall started moving. So I'm pretty sure that's fabric. I don't know if you saw that too.
That's in the US one too, though. Like, that happened. Yeah, that's just the workroom.
Okay.
All right. I get what you mean. I think though, to me, like it had the feel of like high money Drag Race still to me. So even if I don't know, it wasn't like exactly what the US seasons of Drag Race are, I still like I still thought it felt, high
Oh no,
budget to me,
it was definitely
girl.
presentable. It definitely was not filmed with a potato, that's for sure. It was still glitzy and glammy. I just wonder, like, the fact that we are getting design challenges in the first one. It's like, is it because, you know what? No, I think that they just know what they're doing right now, and I think that because RuPaul isn't all up in there fucking shit up right now, I feel like it's like they know what we want to see. They probably take the critiques that the fans are throwing at the US version. They're like, let's not be like that. Let's create something better, or let's go back to form. So
Yeah.
I agree. It was good.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know kind of like the backstory because it's not tied to RuPaul. So like how, like what's the flexibility like? Like I want the tea of all those details, but
Because a lot of people were kind of, some people were excited, some people were kind of like, ew, because Brooklyn Heights, the way that they marketed it, at least,
yeah,
they made it appear as if Brooklyn Heights was the Canadian RuPaul, right?
mm-hmm.
So a lot of people were like, I don't know if I'm down with this. The girl was just on Drag Race. She got second place, so she really deserved her own show. But no, that's not what it is. It's of course she's like she's the headlining drag queen judge, but it's sort of like a rotating thing between the three of them. So
yeah.
I'm much more amenable to that than because I was kind of on the side of like, I don't really know if I want to watch her be a Canadian RuPaul. I'd rather just see Canadian queens do their thing. You know what I mean? Because it's always about the queens.
And I think you kind of get that feel, like, even though Brooklyn is kind of in the middle and sometimes gets those lines, it still didn't feel overwhelming. Like, oh, she was supposed to be the RuPaul. It really felt even. It felt like the judges really had a lot of empathy for the girls in all of the judging, which we'll talk about later. So overall, for me, A+, very enjoyable experience.
Yeah, same.
All right. So let's meet these queens. So we have our traditional intro going on where we get to see the queens walk into the workroom. Now, I do not have the entrance looks, but I do have their promo looks up here. So the very first queen that we have is Miss Priyanka. She is from Toronto. She's been doing drag for 2 years. To me, she sounded a bit like Adore Delano. I can't tell because I also think she kind of looks like Adore Delano. Like,
she does kind of look like a South Asian Adore Delano.
Yes, exactly. But what did you think about her overall?
I liked her. I feel like she had a lot of like a playful energy throughout the entire episode. I feel like she's one of the characters that we're going to get used to. I feel like she's probably going to be a narrator for the season. And I mean, 2 years of doing drag, I mean, that's pretty good. Because I have to feel like, I mean, because we hear about a bit in the episode when they're all walking in that, the drag scene in Canada is a little bit more, I don't know if it's more competitive in the US, but because it's a smaller scene and there are fewer markets for drag queens, it's like everybody kind of knows everybody. And for you to like only have been doing it for 2 years and to make it onto the first season of Canada's Drag Race, that's got to be overwhelming and like a dream come true. So I'm hoping that we get to see more of her. I liked what I saw from her in the first episode, and she seems pretty fun. I like her.
Yeah, I really liked her too. I think the thing about Canada, which, or at least the Canadian Drag Race scene, which, okay, look, like, I'm not super well educated. Puya and I have like been to a couple clubs before when, so my partner is originally lived in Canada for 8 years. And so I was visiting probably like every month or so. We were long distance. So I was in the Montreal drag scene. And so it was like kind of cool to start like, I didn't know any of these queens personally, but it was cool to start to learn more about the Canadian drag scene and what it's like. And I love like the shade of the Vancouver queens versus the Toronto queens and that kind of stuff. So yeah, when you say that, like, oh, it seems, either close knit or like people like really knew each other, I thought that was super interesting. And I think that's going to influence a lot of the drama that we're seeing on this season, which I have a feeling like there's going to be a lot of drama.
I'm wondering, like, once this scene is said and done, obviously, Corona kind of screws everything up, but once the season is said and done, like, obviously they're going to perform in Canada, but I'm wondering if they're going to have a lot of crossover appeal, because I feel like with the UK, of course, there are going to be some fans from the American version that watch, and of course they might, make their way across the pond to dabble in the market, but I just feel like Americans are probably going to be more in tune with the Canadian version, seeing as how it's just so close and it's Brooklyn Heights, you know what I mean? And it's Jeffrey Boyer Chapman. So I'm wondering if like they're going to come down here, across the southern part of the border, and do a lot of their performing instead of like staying in their hometowns. Because I have to imagine that there's probably more money here, as kind of shitty as that sounds.
I hope so. I loved a lot of these queens. Like, please come perform here. You know, a lot of the U.S. drag queens do go to Canada to perform, and so I think that absolutely there can be a ton of cross pollination between the two. And I think even the next drag queen that we're going to talk about, Alona. I think she was actually living in LA. So she's First Nation.
Oh, yeah, she said that, yep.
In Vancouver, yeah, but I think she's now living in LA, which she had a super interesting story about how, like when she was growing up or when she was coming up in the scene, she was a little bit of a like mess. And so people wouldn't book her. And so she almost kind of had to like go to LA to get a fresh start. She, like my immediate reaction to her was I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. But then the more I got to know her, I was like, oh, I really do like you.
Yeah, see, because my ears perked up when she said, you know, a lot of people, they weren't, you know, they didn't really think that I could grow. They didn't really want to give me a second chance. I was like, well, what the hell were you doing that no one wants to book you? Why did you have to escape the country to start performing again? But she seems like, you know, like similar to you, as, you know, we got to hear a bit more from her. She seems really sweet. You know, I want to know more. That's how I feel like about most of these queens. I got a little taste, and now I really want to see you get gritty.
Yeah. And and it's, I mean, I'm so happy because, you know, I mean, Canada's good about this, but like having someone from First Nations on the season, just fantastic choice. And her whole monochromatic thing, we'll see how that goes throughout the season, and whether or not sort of her Insta fame can live up to the, I don't know what you want to call it, the in Drag Race or like skills.
Does it translate well? Yeah,
exactly. Does it translate well? All right, so the next queen that enters the workroom is Miss Kiara. She is someone who seemed to be fangirling the entire time, which was really adorable. She's lives in Montreal. She's also been doing drag for 2 years, and she seemed to know the majority of the queens, at least from her fangirling reactions.
She seemed sort of like the whole episode. She seemed sort of overwhelmed by things that were going on. I mean, she came out and, you know, smashed it on the runway and everything. I think one of her looks was one of the strongest of the night. But yeah, she seemed like she was. We didn't get too many confessionals from her, and I feel like she's like really living her dream. And I'm invested in queens that are like that, where you get to see just how much this is meaning to them. So yeah, I'm excited for Kiara. She's definitely one of the more like, you know, pretty posh girls of the bunch. You know what I mean? She's polished. She has you know, everything is put together. I feel like she's a look queen, and I'm ready to see what else she brings this season. So yeah, I like her
because she's the one that did the like Babadook prairie look thing, right?
It's like a scarecrow type deal thing. Yeah,
that was so cool. I actually think that could have been in the top, but whatever, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I was surprised when it wasn't. I was like, really?
I know, it was so well crafted. Well, yeah, okay. All right, okay. So Juicebox from Essex, but now lives in Toronto. You know, this is the queen that just immediately got stuck on her with her bracelet, like onto onto her tights when she entered the workroom. And unfortunately, Juicebox is the queen that we're going to see leave at the end of this episode. I was so sad that she went. I wanted to see more of her.
I know. At first I was like, is this an act? I didn't understand what was going on when she was saying I'm stuck. I'm like, just move. And then I realized it was the bracelet. Yeah, she man, I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more once we get to that point. But yeah, she kind of like took my heart, because I am someone that suffers from anxiety. So I was right there with her. But I mean, the look that she delivered on the runway was, I mean, it's one of those things, man, where you have I see what you're going for. You're in the workroom, you get those materials, and you're like, I'm going to do this, and that. And I was thinking, is this a little bit too ambitious? And it turned out being that way, because what she delivered, which is not what I think I or she or anybody pretty saw in their head when they saw her cutting up those CDs. So Yeah, I liked her. I kind of a piece of me wishes that there was like a buyback or some shit just so that I could just see her again. Bring her back for All Stars 1. All Stars, okay? All Stars, all dressed.
The reference at the end of like you're our pork chop. I was like, oh, it's like
yeah.
so cute. So hopefully, yeah, she'll be able to gain some fame and you know, have another run, or at least just become like a part of the Canadian Drag Race lore, folklore.
Yep.
All right, our queen that we see enter next is, okay, I want to make sure I pronounce this right. So this is Anastasia, right? Is how you say her name? Anastasia Anakwe.
Anastasia Anakwe.
Okay. So this bitch, Miss 17 years, competing, pageant queen, reigning Miss Black Continental. She is so polished. She is, I wasn't like the biggest fan of the look she ended up turning on the runway this week, but that still doesn't temper my excitement for her. I really am looking forward to see what she can do because she's so seasoned.
Yeah, she really makes me. Oh wow, that was so loud. Ew. She
it was
really
a drag
makes me.
race. They were like, "Let's get this car sound."
Yeah, she's okay. So I see what you're saying. You know what? No, let me not throw any shade just yet. I feel like she's here for her business, and that's great. That's fine. She's driven. She's passionate. She's focused. She's been through the ringer. She knows what she's doing. She's won a few crowns here and there. Okay, so what? I just need for you to be all in on Drag Race. I don't care how many crowns you won. Yes, it's the first episode, so we got to get some backstory. I get it. Like, of course, she's going to talk about that's probably a big reason as to why she got on the show. But I don't need someone else coming into this season talking about how they've done this, that, and the third, and that's the reason that they should stay. And da 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 da. It's like, come on, like. Come down off your high horse for a second. Kiki with the rest of the girls. Live in this moment. You're on the first season of Canada's Drag Race. And not to say that she hasn't been doing that way. I'm just saying, like, you know, these kinds of queens that come on and talk about their resumes, I'm like, okay. But maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh.
No,
I just want to see what she can do.
Right. No, I mean, I think, oh my gosh, who was it from? I think it was Vinegar Strokes from the UK. Did you watch that season?
I don't know. I didn't watch that season. I don't know.
Well, anyway, so that like sometimes that's the most recent example I can think of, but like, yeah, sometimes that does happen where there are queens who, but I mean, she was super humble about it, but like there are queens that are either successful in the real world because of pageants, or, I mean, honestly, even with Trixie, you know, you kind of see a little bit of this. It's like Trixie Mattel was someone who was able to be super popular because of doing the YouTube show with Katya and because of all the other successes. And like, I bought her album, you know? So, but then when she comes on Drag Race, you still have to be able to deliver on Drag Race. And so I can understand the concern. I think she's somebody, though, who at least so far is doing a good job. And then we'll have to see what the rest of the season has in store for her. But yeah, I feel like a lot of these
queens are like kind of on the, you know, not old, but older end. No? Like, I feel like there's like a lot of like 30 pluses here, which I kind of like.
I love that. I think there's kind of like a mix. So Scarlett Bobo has been doing Drag Race for 12 years, Rita Baga 13 years, Anastasia 17 years. But then on the flip side, you have the queens that have been doing drag like Kiara 2 years, Priyanka 2 years. I guess Kine has been doing like YouTube channel stuff for a long time. Lord knows what Jimbo has been up to, but I want to find out. Yeah,
no.
Now that I'm looking, like, yeah, there are a lot of queens that have a lot of experience, which I think is going to be interesting. Well, this next queen talking about experience, has walked in New York Fashion Week. She has won a bunch of drag comps in New York City, and she says she's the best dancer Drag Race has ever seen. That is yet to be seen, but we have Lemon from Toronto who lives in New York City.
Yeah, when she said that, I was like, okay, you know, Brooklyn Heights is the judge, right? Now, if your ass ends up in the bottom, you're going to have to show us what you got, girl, because that's some pretty, that's high praise for one's own self.
Oh my God, yeah, when we saw her in the bottom, like, was she the best dancer? Like, At least not from this. I mean, she was good. Like, I loved her performance. Obviously, she stays. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead,
I mean,
Aman.
she's talking about because she was the girl that went to Alvin Ailey and everything, right? Like that's a top-notch school. So obviously she got something. Because I mean, no, they didn't just let anybody in Alvin Ailey. They're just not.
And with a scholarship too.
Right. Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, I liked her. I feel like she definitely missed the mark. I mean, she's one of the younger queens, right? So some of these young queens, they don't necessarily know how to throw a look together out of raw materials, and it shows. So maybe this is it's a good thing that they did the design challenge first. You got it out of the way, you survived it, and now you can focus on dancing for the rest of the time.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought on her too. She was a little bit pheromone in the workroom too. And I think she grew on me as the episode went on. I didn't want her to go home, but I also didn't want Juicebox to go home. So this was a really tough episode to watch.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long she is for the Drag Race world. At least, I mean, you know, Canada's Drag Race TV show world. But I'm hoping that we get to see more of her. I thought she was kind of cute.
I liked her too.
I liked her, yeah. All right, Scarlett Bobo is the next queen. This is a queen who is, let me see. Okay, she is from Toronto, describes herself as a circus freak. She's been doing drag, like we said before, for 12 years. She is someone who I cannot recognize like in and out of drag. I just
I was forgetting who she was.
Yes. Okay. So this is her. So we're pulling up on the screen right now. Her in her confessional look and her in one of her like her drag race looks. She just, I don't know why. Like there was something for me that I was like, I can't tell who you are, and that to me is a sign of a good makeup artist.
Yeah, she paints. Because I kept forgetting her name every time that they were in the workroom talking back and forth, because they don't always put the name up there during the confession. I was like, what is your fucking name? The whole time I was like, I don't know who you are. So yeah, she's she's an interesting one, because she was one of the people that sort of, you know, was the first, at least the first one that we saw, to sort of like call out Kind a little bit and be like, she is really working on her. So I'm wondering, is she going to be like someone that we're supposed to be rooting for? Because you know how they like to come up with these storylines off the bat. And right now she's the main person that stood up to the supposed villain of the episode. So I'm wondering, it seems like we're going to be seeing a lot more of Scarlett Bobo. I'm just going to try not to confuse Scarlett Bobo and Boa.
Yes.
I feel like when I start saying Scarlett Boa and Bobo Boa and whatever else the hell, like it's gonna be a long season.
Scarlett Bobo is like quite the name too.
It is.
It's like two things that just didn't go together. Scarlett and Bobo. I don't know. To me, like Scarlett is like Scarlett O'Hara.
Did she explain the history behind the name?
Maybe.
I don't think we heard the history behind the name, did we?
I don't think so. All right. Well,
I'll have to look it up.
We'll find out at some point. Speaking of the villain of the episode, we have Kind, who comes in, wins the mini challenge, which, by the way, yes, thank you, mini challenge. And it was a photo shoot mini challenge. I was beyond excited to have that back. She comes in, she wins the mini challenge, and then turns into, in like the second half of the episode, the biggest villain so far. I mean, I know it just started, but still, it was like throw her under the bus.
It's like, I know that we are supposed to, you know, be a reality television program. I get it, but like, girl, like, is she aware? I don't know if she's aware of the fact that she was being like, was she one of those people that tries to be tongue in cheek and she just lacks the comical effects, and so it just comes off as being bitchy? Because like all of like the unnecessary antics with like antagonizing, who was it? Was it Alona, or it was somebody, whoever that she gave the it
was Boa, I think, right?
Yeah, Boa. There you go.
Yeah.
Like antagonizing her and, you know, saying, I hope that you're packed or whatever, or like, I wish you well, it was nice knowing you, all that stuff. And then like the attitude on the runway, I'm like, who do you think that you are? Like, is somebody putting you up to this? Was this like, did you want to be the villain? It was so strange to me.
It was, yeah, I think someone described it. I can't remember who is being so telenovela. She's so dramatic and she's throwing
Yeah.
herself on the couch. She's, and like doing all these things. It was like, girl, what is going on? I think she's trying to make good TV. And I think she probably doesn't realize
She's
that.
trying to get brought back for All Stars already. I mean, this is the inaugural season. This is the All Star season. Like, go for it.
That reminds me, Aman, was it Alex Au who for Big Brother in her preseason stuff was like, my goal is to come back and play again. Like, I'm playing to play again.
In her very first interview with Jeff, she's already talking about like, well, yeah, I'm going to get brought back the next time. And I don't think we've heard her name at all for the upcoming season, but that's neither here nor there. Like, girl, live in your moment. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's what she's trying to do, but it certainly seems that way.
It certainly seems
so
that
strange.
Yeah, with all that drama. Okay, speaking of drama, so Boa, the next queen that we see, stands for bitch on arrival, from Windsor, has a bad rep in Toronto, is what we learn about her initially, and that she was super annoying. And we find out, sort of like Alona, that she was a queen who, and she explicitly talks about like her drinking issues and that she didn't like who she was when she drank. And that was part of the reason why she was, I think, blacklisted probably from all of these clubs. So she was someone who I was like, oh, we're supposed to dislike her. But then as it went along, I was like, oh, no, wait, I do kind of like her.
Yeah.
I still don't like her outfit, but like, I like her.
She got humanized here.
Yeah.
See, these editors, man, they be doing it to you. They be like, oh, this is supposed to be the villain of the season, then it's a bait and switch because then we're putting the makeup on in the mirror, and they're like, I have a life and I've had struggles, and I'm like, oh, well, now I love you now. It's like so.
Yeah, either I'm simple and like that works on me,
right?
But no, I mean, she was someone who I at first thought, I was like, oh, she's here for the drama. They casted her, because of the drama. She's going to be out pretty soon. And this is one of the things I think I really liked about Drag Race Canada's Drag Race, is that it didn't feel like, we've talked about this, it didn't feel overproduced. It felt like I'm actually getting to know these queens for who they are. They're not, even though, yes, we get the kind sort of villain edit, but it didn't even necessarily feel that way. It was just like, she's just being a bitch. And so we're just showing her being a bitch. Like, we're not trying to paint her in a way that is counterintuitive to what we're seeing. It really felt like we just got to learn everything. And Boa was one of those queens I feel like we really just got to know.
Yeah, she I remember her entrance look the most. She wore like the cowl that's like getting abducted by a UFO type look, which I really responded well to because the udder was like probed and stuff and alien-esque. It was really cool. So yeah, I like her. She seems like she's here to have a good time and to like really like, I feel like she's a little feisty too, because didn't she kind of get into, because there was no Untucked for this, was there? But we did get to see like it
was kind of like in the episode a little bit, like they showed some of the stuff between when they left and then the judges, which I thought was kind of cool.
Right, me too, because it kind of contextualizes everything as they come back on a stage in the moment. But I think she was the one that was sort of like giving it to Kine a bit, because Kine was like, I can't believe that Boa beat us. Like, look at this. Like, this is ridiculous. And I'm like, I'm fierce, bitch. What do you want from me? And it's like, yeah, like you were supposed to be the villain, allegedly coming into this, but now you are also like, raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by Kine. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Like, was that just her being bitchy in the one episode? But especially now, in the promo for next week, when we see Brooklyn come to Kine and be like, hey, so yeah, like, we didn't appreciate the clapbacks. And she's like, well, y'all deserved it or whatever. Like, okay,
I didn't see that.
Or something like that. Yeah, she like claps back again. I don't know. We'll see next week. Well, someone else who I'm excited to see next week is our winner of this week's challenge, Rita Baga. So Rita's from Montreal. She's been doing drag for 13 years. She was like, people call me a legend, but I'm not that old bitch, which was cool. What did you think about Rita?
I liked her. She's coming in big and strong and tall, and she's not the oldest person there. Apparently, Tainomi Banks is. And she's been around the block as well. She's been in the drag scene for over a decade, and I feel like I'm excited to see her because she's kind of witty. She's kind of in on the joke. Like she came in, trying to, show that she's she's here to be friendly. Like she's not here to be an ass. Like I might be around for a long time, but like don't consider me a threat. And it's like those are all the reasons that I should be considering you a threat. So like I'm really, and she won the first challenge, so I'm interested to see what she brings later on.
Yeah, I didn't get like exactly the same feeling from her, but there was a little bit of Bianca Del Rio with her of like she's just she's like, I know what I'm about. Like I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna serve what I'm gonna serve, and like y'all are gonna like it.
Ironically, she's got like a bit of a Bianca Del Rio silhouette in this in that dress that we were just looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what Rita is able to do.
Speaking of Bianca, did you see her tweet last night? It was because Brooklyn said something about like, thanks for watching, so excited for this, Canada's Drag Race or whatever. And apparently RuPaul has deleted his Twitter account and his Instagram account for whatever reason. And so Bianca Del Rio quoted Brooklyn's tweet saying like, congratulations, now only got 12 more seasons until you can delete your Twitter account. I was like, it just never stops for her. The Rolodex just never stops for her.
It just keeps on rolling. Yeah, that's crazy. I saw Evie also like throwing a bunch of shade at Rue for stuff like that was crazy too. I think
she won, so it's like it must be really bad. Like if you can't even get the winner, the ambassador of your show, to not talk shit, then damn, like Rue must be really, really shitty on set. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, so the whole thing, I'm going to see if I can find the tweet, but essentially not to like derail us from what's going on, but this was like really crazy. Was like something along the lines of, RuPaul like won't make eye contact with you or only turns it on if she senses an Emmy moment, I think was what it was.
Yeah. And so did you see like the promo for next episode? We haven't talked about All Stars yet, but did you see the promo for next week's episode?
No, I didn't.
Well, long story short, while she's going through the workroom, she like has like a whole teary-eyed moment with I think Shay, I believe, or maybe Jujubee, and it was like literally right after I saw Evie Sweet, and I'm like, ugh, I can't even believe this now. Like,
yeah, well, and that is like Evie's also doing like the Work the World challenge or tour like stuff too, so it's just like somebody who's so great. But anyway, yeah, this is why when we talked at the beginning of the episode about me being happy that this Drag Race can exist without RuPaul and Drag Race can move on and have its own life, its own form that is more positive perhaps, or like yeah, that's part of the drama. I mean, into this.
There have been rumblings of this for quite some time, and I'm still a relatively newer Drag Race fan. I didn't start watching until like around 4 years ago with season 8. And so like I was like, when I first got into like the Drag Race scene, I was like, oh my God, I love this show. This is like all about, being proud of who you are and the tenacity of the human spirit. And I'm really buying what RuPaul is preaching right now. I'm such a RuPaul fan. I love him. He's like one of my top 10 idols. I want to be just like him when I'm older. And now
I mean, the bitch has been around the block, like RuPaul, successful with the RuPaul show in the 90s, then essentially lives in the wilderness for like all of the early 2000s, then comes out in the first season was 2008 for Drag Race. And so part of me has empathy for Ru having gone through everything, and especially being one of the pioneers for successful drag performers. So like I get it from that perspective, but at the same time, like this is why the universe and the world moves on. Like this is why we grow, this is why we change, this is why we push. So love to all.
It's just like counter yeah, right. And it's like it's because you're right, he did go through such, I mean, he's still the premier drag queen of the world, right? Like he's the most famous drag queen ever. So you got to give props where props are. But I guess like there's just a disconnect when he's preaching all of this kindness and stuff, but on set it's just a different story. So it's just disheartening, if anything.
No, and I agree with you. And I think that's the thing, is that it's not been like, oh, there's like this one big event. It's all these little things that kind of add up. And over
these
time,
little things that culminate.
Yeah. And over time you're just like, like this leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And especially with all the overproduction that we've seen. I know this is like our tangent that we're going on, but with all the overproduction in the US version, this is why Canada's Drag Race was such a breath of fresh air. It really felt like, I can have fun watching Drag Race again. Not that I don't have fun with the US seasons, but all right.
I agree.
Speaking of fun, we are going to talk about Jimbo. Jim mother effing Bo. Look at this. Look at Jimbo. Like Jimbo is someone who I like saw. I saw their video, the like promo video, because I was like, oh my gosh, there's a queen named Jimbo. I was still even not prepared for what Jimbo was going to bring. Jimbo is such a fascinating character to me.
Yeah, at first I thought I was gonna be annoyed because I thought it was like a shtick that she was playing. I was like, oh, she's the ditzy out there gonna say anything that comes to her mind kind of queen. It's gonna get really old really fast. But no, I was here for it the entire time. She made me actually laugh at something that I probably wouldn't have laughed at on the regular. Sometimes, I mean, we know RuPaul's humor sometimes over there can be very, very basic, and it's like I would have laughed at this if you weren't laughing so hard. But when Jimbo got up onto that onto the snow mountain or whatever, and the wind starts blowing and she's like screaming at the top of her lungs, I died. I was like, this is so absurd. This is so stupid. But she is selling it to me, and I appreciate it all. I had such a good time with her the entire episode.
Yeah, and again, because she proves in this episode also that she can design. She's not a one-trick pony. This isn't. This is who Jimbo is. Like, I feel like, even though I don't really know Jimbo, I know Jimbo. Like, I really, I felt like it wasn't a character. And
you're picking up what she's putting down. You get it.
Yes, I am. I really am. And I didn't know what to expect, especially with that entrance. Like, I was like, oh my God, what am I watching? But then
I love how even the rest of the queens don't really know how to handle Jimbo because they were all like waiting on bated breath to see what she was going to look like when she took off all of her drag. And they were like, oh, it's like, I don't think I've ever seen any other like queen have the rest of the workroom look at them like as if de-dragging is like a plot twist to them. It was so funny to see.
Yeah, I don't remember which queen said it. It was like, oh, Jimbo's a daddy.
Yeah. I think it was Priyanka.
Yeah, like not what we expected.
He was like, you want some boyanka? I was like, oh, wow.
Oh, such a fun cast. Such a fun cast. Well, our last queen that we see enter the workroom is Tainomi Banks. She is from Toronto and is, again, we hear a legend. And like you said, the oldest queen in the competition, even though you wouldn't know it looking at her.
Black don't crack, girl. Yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted a little bit more from Tainomi. I don't know how you feel about her, but I kind of felt like, I guess because of the hype of it all, I kind of was like expecting her to be more prevalent in the episode, and she was kind of taking a backseat, which isn't bad. I mean, there's like 14, 12 queens right now. So, right. It's a lot of, mess and noise to like sift through in the beginning. So maybe she'll comment on her a little bit later on. But I was kind of like left wanting for Tainomi Banks. I mean, you're naming yourself after Tyra Banks and Naomi Campbell. You gotta back it up. You know what I mean? So yeah, I want some more.
Yeah, we definitely didn't learn that much about her. And I mean, that could just be the editing, right? Like that's what we're seeing here. But I guess we'll get to her runway look. What even was her runway look? Like the fact that I'm forgetting is probably not a good sign for her.
I don't remember either.
See, that's she had the box Lumberjanes. Okay, wait, hold up. Now I got
with like the weird sock things hanging down. Yeah, that was weird. That was a strange one. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I didn't. Oh, yes, and the sock. Why are the socks hard? Okay. Yeah. Okay, that did kind of make me laugh. All right. Well, let's actually get into the meat and bones. We've met all the queens, so a lot of the workroom stuff we've already sort of talked through. Were there any other standout moments? I know you mentioned, of course, the classic Jimbo moment from the mini challenge. Is there anything else that stood out to you about the mini challenge?
I mean, we spoke about it a little briefly with Alona and Boa, and then I thought what was funny was what's the other girl that John doing in the conversation? What is her name? I think was it Lemon? I think it was Lemon. I can't remember. I'm so sorry, guys. We'll get the names as it goes on. But somebody asked Alona or Boa, they were like, oh, did people stop coming to your shows when you stopped drinking? And I thought that she was being shady at first. I was like, what a rude question to ask.
Oh, Juicebox. Like, no. It was Juicebox and Boa that were having that conversation.
Okay, Juicebox. There we go. Thank you. And I thought she was being shady at first when she asked that question, but then she was like, no, because when I stopped drinking, people stopped showing up. And I was like, damn, that's so shitty because I mean I feel like we hear about this a lot. I feel like drinking is a problem for a lot of people, period. But specifically within the drag community, I feel like a lot of drag queens do drink because they feel like it loosens them up on stage.
Mhm.
And it, makes you a friendlier person. It makes you funnier because you're less inhibited, you're less nervous. And then and that's how you make your money, right? So the more and more that you're in the club trying to make money, the more and more that you start drinking. And before you know it, you have a bit of a drinking problem. And so it's just so disheartening for her to say, like, when I stopped, people just weren't as interested, because the whole reason, it just kind of just reinforces why she started doing it in the first place. And so I was really, really proud that she said, I made the decision to stop drinking. It's been 2 years and I've stuck with it. It's been hard, but I'm still here. And so like, I really appreciated that moment, because we know that it's a big problem for, I mean, we're seeing it with Mayhem on All Stars 5 right now. Well, she talked about it last week. So it sucks, but I'm glad that she's sticking to it.
Yeah, with Mayhem and Jujubee, and I know like Brooklyn was, I'm not sure if she's still sober, but like definitely was sober for a while. And I think that's something too, that especially as I can't imagine working in that community and struggling with that issue when, like you said, alcohol is so prevalent and is just so the norm.
And everywhere. It's just like, let's take a shot. Let's do a drink. Let's, like, I mean, you're there. Like the bartenders probably give them alcohol for free because they're bringing customers in and stuff. Like it's a really, really slippery slope. So I just, I admire anybody that is able to stick with this scene and stay sober, because it can be very, very challenging.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that was why, again, one of the reasons I was like, oh, this feels so much more humanizing. And but the US ones have this too. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's something that just felt different. Maybe
it did feel different. Maybe we're romanticizing it a bit because we just like the queens and whatever. But I don't know. But I agree. I feel like it was like, it just, maybe it was the placement in the episode. It just felt much, maybe because they spent the entire time in the workroom, because the challenge was a design challenge. So it was just nothing but them designing and talking to one another. So it just felt more, organic. But I agree. I just felt like it just, I wanted to listen, and it didn't feel like, oh, here's the sob story. Here's the part where we need to, feel the, I was like, no, I was invested. Like I cared. And I don't always care for the US version. So
it felt more natural. It definitely felt more natural. Well, speaking of the design challenge, let's get into all of the looks from this week. So I'm going to pull up our first queen to walk the runway, and that is Miss Anastasia, who got the Canada Gay box, who puts together this. I mean, I thought it was cute. To me, this was the definition of safe, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay. Now, the end product is kind of weird. I don't know how many of you guys follow fashion, but I saw one of the outfits that Solange, Beyonce's sister, wore to the Met Gala, maybe 2016, I don't remember. But it was like a puff jacket, like a puff winter jacket, but turned into like a dress. And I was like, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. We know Solange is out there, and she's like, about the nature and the trees and the stars and all that stuff. So she's going to wear something out of the box, right? It was still ugly as hell to me. This sort of harkens back to that. But something that I will say is that, like, because they critique them on both the look and the presentation, right? Presentation, good. I mean, she knows how to work the runway. The look itself, while I found it ugly, she crafted that, because I saw like the raw materials. And so for the raw materials to go from that to this, I'm like, good for you, girl. You know what I mean? I don't like the way that it looks, but you took the challenge by the balls and ran with it. So on that, I respect that.
She's got that red puffy jacket kind of thing, but if she had cut that from one of those jackets, like those those puffy jackets, way less impressive. But like you said, because she was able to craft it, like that's really cool. It is, to me, feels like very quintessential Canadian, not just because of the colors and the maple leaf, but just with, the puffy coat. As someone who is, again, don't live in Canada, never lived in Canada, but I've traveled to Canada a lot. Gets cold, y'all. and like my big puffy coat was a godsend there. All right. Our next queen to walk the runway is Miss Kiara. And she is the one that, like we were talking about earlier, got the whole Babadook, Like a Prairie box. And she was able to turn out a look that I think probably should have been the top.
Yeah, because she was safe, right?
She was safe, yes.
I was shocked by this. I thought it kind of reminded me a lot of Evie Oddly's look with the like the
Yep.
natured flower look. I love the fact that the hay is coming out of the hat. It's like new growth or something, and the hair is such a contrast from the rest of the outfit. The paint is really good. She's paying some homage to coronavirus with that little mask on at the beginning, and yeah, I'm a big fan of the bodice where like it's like a plate and it like moves in an opposite direction of your body. I'm always a fan of that. So yeah, I think that she really, really killed it. I thought it was like Little House on the Prairie, Little Bitch on the Prairie. I loved
Yeah.
it.
And her wig and the beat too are also really gorgeous. She got these like multicolored
Mm-hmm.
dreads and she painted her whole self gold. Okay. Like,
Like
this look
exactly.
deserved more love. I'm just saying.
Like I don't know if the crows would be scared of this particular scarecrow, but they would at least be too distracted to eat the corn. They would be like, ooh.
Yeah,
So
Shangela better watch out.
exactly.
That corn. All right. So Lemon's look, darling. We've talked about this before. This was a whole
All
mess.
right.
What am I
All
looking at
right.
here? It was like every sport absolutely combined, which I get it. That's what she was going for, that she's like confused about sports. But it just like she's got this like pink thing strapped to her side, tied around her. Like, what even is that?
This just goes to show how much I know about sports, like how little I was paying attention because I was so distracted by everything. Because when she walked down, I was like, "What is this?" And then she took the hockey stick and did this, and I was like, "Oh, it's like a baseball type deal." And then I was like, "Wait, no, that's a hockey stick." And I'm like, it looks like somebody just the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, the National Baseball League, they all just threw up on her. And that's it. I mean, the color coordination is kind of the only thing that's like working for me, but everything else is like, ugh.
So I think I like it because she's got shoulder pads on, and I kind of like it from the shoulder pads up. I like the way that she used the shuttlecocks earrings and the fans for her pigtails, and then I love it from the socks down. Everything in between is just a disaster.
Yeah.
It's just like a corset with then that thing tied around her and then underwear. And so unfortunately, girl, like that's the majority of your look, and that's the part that I don't like. I love all the accessories, but I don't like the rest of it.
Yeah, you're right. The accessories I did like once they were pointed out to me because I didn't notice them, during the runway because I was so distracted by the tackiness of it all. But yeah, like I think that's probably what ends up saving her a bit here is well, obviously the lip sync helped, but like I think the fact that there were some details here and there that were like, oh, okay, I see what you were going for there. You know what I mean?
And I think she was also one that had the mouth guards like on her shoes. That then we got to see. Oh yeah, by the way, so the guest host, shoot, what's her name? Like Alyssa Cuthbert. She's from Happy Endings. She's the actress. She was really good. I really liked her quite a bit.
I liked her too. I didn't know where she was from. I didn't know who she was. But I like her. I like the fact it's so strange that the guest co-host kind of takes the RuPaul spot with the workroom entrance or the main stage entrance and announcing who the judges are. I was like, this is interesting. I kind of like it. Kind of like this.
Yeah. Alicia Cuthbert. Here is her picture. For those of you that are looking at the video version, we're going full Wikipedia whole searching,
Yes.
whatever. That's not language. Okay, let's get back to the runway. Our next queen to talk about is Alona, and she is going to do this Musco Cur. This is why we needed as the Canadian to like help me.
I know, because I have no fucking idea what is going on right now.
Yeah, we were gonna have just so little behind the scenes. We're gonna have a Canadian guest. Unfortunately, due to some timing and issues, she wasn't able to be here. But we'll have her on in the future and hopefully help correct all of our ignorant Americanness. But Alona's look was, I thought it was cool. I think it was also the definition of safe for me. It didn't like wow me, but I thought it was kind of cool. No.
Yeah. I mean, I like now that I'm looking at it for a second time, I kind of like that the wig is orange because it kind of like seems it's like a seamless transition into the streams. I don't know what you would even call these big strings. So kind of like that, but it just seems kind of like disjointed to me. I'm like, what? I mean, and that's probably all to do with the fact that I don't know what the reference is. So I'm just like, what am I looking at?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. And
So she's got she's got this like gray tight dress with a mermaid cut that's very low, and then she's got little orange pasties on, and then she's sort of covered in these like orange straps. I don't know what you would call it, but I thought her presentation, like even if I didn't get it, I thought that the presentation on the runway was really cool. I thought she sold the garment and seemed to have a lot of confidence when she was displaying her creation.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I can't sew, I can't stitch, I can't do none of that shit. So like, more power to you, girl. More power to you.
Speaking of someone who maybe can't glue, let's talk about Kine, who had the whole issues with her disco look and the balls at the bottom just falling off as she awkwardly walked down the runway.
Now she knows she had no business talking all the shit that she did if this is what she was going to deliver. Now, once again, I can't sew, I can't stitch, I can glue though. So those balls would have been, my balls would not have dropped. Okay. But this, after all the shit that you talked, this simple ass, what do you call this? Not caftan, jumpsuit, whatever the hell. No. And then the fit wasn't even all the way there because as she's walking across, you can see that it's kind of like awkwardly shaped around the top. And it's just like, what, girl? And then I feel like the wig wasn't working yet. I feel like the wig just wasn't like big enough either. I feel like it was kind of too droopy. Like you want to be Diana Ross. You want the constant bounce. And that shit was stiff. Okay. So it just wasn't working for me.
I thought it was fine, except for all the balls falling off. But yeah, with the amount of shit that she was talking, come on, you can't do that. This isn't as gag worthy as you think it is.
And you had like one of the easiest boxes, just gold, which means you can do anything as long as it's all gold. And I just felt like this is a very safe choice to make. And especially because wasn't she also the one that was saying I can sew and do all this? Like I teach everybody online how to do this. She even talked about teaching them how to style the wig. Where I was like, okay, well, where was the 70s disco bounce in the wig? Why was that shit stiffer than a board?
Yeah, if you can do it on YouTube, like do it here also, please. That would be great. At least like don't talk so much smack about it. My gosh. Our next queen is Scarlett Bobo and had the glampede look here, which I didn't know if they could actually say Calgary glampede or is just like, look, it's just going to be the glampede. Okay. But she puts together this assless chapped look with, I guess the top piece are their bandanas. Oh, gotcha. I think the more I look at this, I'm trying to decide the more I look at this, the more I hate it and the more I like it. Because she's got the cow print for the assless chaps and then she's got the bandanas on top. So I can see how she was able to incorporate her fabric. Like I could tell which box she had based on the way that she presented it because it was so very glampede-ish. But it's still not my favorite look. But it's safe. It's safe.
I was certainly not, I didn't know what I was looking at the first time that I watched it. But now that you said that those are all bandanas, I'm kind of like more impressed by it. I like that bra.
Yeah,
actually, I like the splash of color.
I don't know how she like each cup is a different bandana color, and then she made the straps out of that, and she's got this sort of like arm cuff with a bunch of bandanas on it, and some braided bandanas coming down along the sides. I could do without that big bee. She's got a big bee on her underwear, on her panties.
Yeah, it is a little distracting.
Is that supposed to be for Bobo?
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I assume so as well, but. Okay, so middle and that's the thing is like, oh, Scarlett, like, okay, I finally know who you are now, and this outfit is to me safe, fine. A queen I will not forget, Miss Jimbo. What did you think of this one?
Good for her. What? They were all pockets. Like they were all zip up pockets.
Yeah, they were like zip up pockets on the skirt, and then there was beads for what she glued to the bodice. And then she's got boas and she's got the lei feathers coming across the top. This look was, I mean, what was it? Rain blow it up. Oh yeah, that's what she did. She rain blew it up.
All the attention to detail here is just, that must have been painstaking. The only thing, this is me nitpicking, the two things that I would change is like I just kind of wish that the corset were just a little tighter, just because it comes off just a little boxy, but that might have been really, really hard because maybe it would have like fucked with the beads. And I wish that the boots were a different color. I feel like the white, I don't know. Do you feel similarly? I feel like it should have been like red or
Pink.
Or one your pink, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the white is kind of just like I don't know. It's just not like flowing with the rest of the rainbow for me.
Because there's no white really in the rest of her look. And so I get you that it is a little bit distracting. And because the white actually, this is going to sound weird, pops with all the rainbow colors, it is a little bit distracting. But I'm happy that she was in the top. I thought that this was really, really cool. And this is what, to me, a design challenge is about, because taking an unconventional material and being able to make it into something that moves in such a cool way. I don't know how she did that skirt, but I am very, very impressed.
It does move really nicely. It flows. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The way that it like sways back and forth. Miss Tynomi Banks is our next queen to walk the runway. Now, we talked about this being not memorable, given the fact that neither Aman nor myself could remember this look. Now that we're looking at it a little bit more closely, Aman, what do you think of her look, which was, if I can look, the Lumberjanes box?
It's ugly. I think you like this look, and I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. I just feel like it looks messy. It looks messy. I was shocked when she wasn't in the bottom. I was like, damn, she's safe for this. Like, I don't get it. What exactly are those socks? Like, I see those a lot of the time. Like, what are they? Are they just stuffed socks?
Yeah, they're like the sock monkey socks. I mean, they're stuffed here. I don't know why.
Okay. I'm an idiot. Okay.
Yeah, I like.
I just.
All the pairs I own of those I did buy in Canada, because I do have several pairs of those types of socks. But it just she's got this I don't know what you want to call it, like the black and red plaid sort of body suit romper thing underneath, but then it's just covered with this big blue piece of fabric, and that's exactly what it looks like, a big blue piece of fabric. Like, it definitely looks like she styled it in some way where she sort of tried to like tie it around the middle and all that jazz, but it just comes across as it just doesn't look good.
It looks like she's rolled out of bed, literally.
Threw it on.
Like, if the competition were like Canadian bed set, I'd be like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, this is
but for the lumberjack, I don't
challenge.
I wanted to see like an axe or something, or some logs, or some maybe they just went in the box, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she, for me, would have been, if not in the bottom, because I don't know who I take out. I think Lemon for sure, and Juice Box do end up in the bottom. Then I guess the question is do I think that's uglier than Kynes? But I also kind of want to kind of get her comeuppance, and maybe the producers did too. They're like, just go ahead and throw her in the bottom. The next queen to walk the runway is Boa, so this look ended up being a top look. It was the Man of Green Gables, which did make me laugh the first time. But then in terms of this actual runway look, I wasn't super impressed by it. Am I alone?
It's the titties for me. They just make me laugh. At first I was like, what the fuck are those? And then I realized when she walked from side to side, I was like, oh. So I like the comedy of it all.
Are they potatoes? Or did she like put caps on her boobies?
I thought it was a breastplate with the caps on them.
Yeah, I think She like tilted it up too, like because the breastplate like isn't sitting like it normally does flat. She like tilted it up, which allows the like potato boobies to really just stick out.
So yeah, I appreciate the comedy of this. As far as like the look is concerned, as a whole, it's it's a little like more on the ragtag end. It's not as bad as juice boxes or
Mhm.
lemons because there's like a cohesive style here. But I think what really I laugh at this outfit, and that's probably what say like if I were on the judging panel, that would be what would have saved it for me, is because I just could not stop thinking about those tilted up. Like you're literally not letting the bra do its work. You literally said fuck the bra and put the titties on top of it. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like if I put on a bra or a corset and I just like laid my titties on top of that, like, that's what we're seeing here. I love there's this one moment on the runway, and if you're watching the video version, I tried to capture this when she just grabs the potato and just smiles back at the judges. It's for some reason just oh my god, that one definitely made me laugh. So if look, she deserves the praise for the presentation and for the comedy of it all. I'm not crazy about the outfit, the rest of it, but yes, I definitely see where you're coming from. Our next queen unfortunately ends up in the bottom, and like we talked about, ends up going home. This is Juicebox with her Flintstone pop bubblegum princess look, which came from the Much Rusick video prance. Oh, girl.
Yeah, I mean, I like I like the silhouette. I like that it's, a cute little skirt. I like it, but all you did, it's just white fabric with CD plastic on it. That's it. Like there was no, I mean, you have like what she's carrying on a disco ball purse. Is that what that is?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, so that's cool, but I mean, and I like that the guest judge Alicia, she sort of tried to come to bat for her and be like, you know what, I got this. I like it. It's sort of like, it reminds me of the music videos that I like to watch. I mean, you are kind of getting like a bit of a Britney Spears type deal here. But yeah, I mean, the minute that she started spending all that time cutting up all those CDs, I'm like, you're going to spend way too much time on this and not enough time on the fabric and the overall silhouette of the outfit, because it's just not there. Like all the other queens did things. Like it's hard for you to try and come out on top with this, considering shit that we got from like Jimbo. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's hard.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. They both got the same amount of time to make their outfit, I assume. And we get Jimbo versus this. And, the crushed up CDs, we've seen this before, but with crushed up Christmas ornaments. I think it's in season 3. And so, like it's been done before, but not with the CDs, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, it's like you spend all this time doing this. Well, the actual outfit itself that you're going to glue them to still has to make an impact. And unfortunately here, I just think that this outfit, even with or without the CDs, just really didn't make that impact.
I did not buy that record, honey. Didn't buy it.
Not gonna even listen on Spotify.
Nah.
Something that I would love to, I was gonna say listen to, is like that doesn't make sense. I would love to taste. I don't know, whatever. That's a bad transition. Priyanka comes out here in her Gone Fishy look, which was So I liked the look. I thought it was cute. I think it was a little basic, but her presentation was actually kind of awkward when she walked the runway.
Yeah, it's a little, she's very scantily clad, obviously. So it kind of like fails, sort of like kind of where Juice Boxes fails, where it's obviously it's a little bit more detailed than Juice Boxes, but it's like, it's so minimalistic that it's like, okay, are you cheating here? Because you're not giving us a lot of fabric. So it's like less work that you have to do. But I mean, I definitely got it. I understood, like looking at it, even like if I didn't even know what the theme was, like, oh, it's like a fisherman sailor type deal thing going on here. So I got it, and I like the fact that she has, what was it, like lobster tails or shrimps,
like crabs on her shoes.
Yeah, I like that, and the net that sort of like cascades on her hip. I like that. It is like now that I'm watching it, it is sort of like, I understand what you mean. Like it's kind of awkward. It's kind of like, she's kind of like, is this good? Do you like this?
walk, walk. Okay, you can see the wheels turning. Okay, now pose. And then she poses. I
Okay.
do love her, so I'm hoping that she can overcome it's just nerves on the runway. I think that if she had been in the bottom, I think she probably would have gotten critiques about that, about the presentation, especially because there are other queens this season that can present so confidently and so well, especially this next queen that we're going to talk about, the eventual winner. So that's my nerves for her, but hopefully she'll be able
Mm-hmm.
to turn it out and do a little bit better next week.
Mm-hmm.
Rita Baga, our winner. What did you think of Rita's look and presentation, Aman?
I sort of wish that the coat never came off. Now, I I understand why the judges liked it. It just wasn't my favorite of the night. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like I feel like once the jacket came off, it sort of like didn't elevate it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like it was such a drastic change from that snowy white frozen blizzard tundra look to this electric blue. Like are you so frozen? Or are you just like I don't know. It just didn't translate well for me. I don't know.
The blue dress is ugly. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. There's no definition.
Yeah.
It's very boxy. It doesn't fit her well, and it is extremely ugly. The coat is gorgeous. So I get what you're coming from with I wish she hadn't have taken that off. What I think I really
Mm-hmm.
liked was the attention to detail with her hands being red, around her ears being red because it's so cold.
Yeah.
The theme of her box was Quebecois. So like
And
it's
there's like a
cold.
frost coming down her shoulder.
Exactly. So all those little details, and she was able to incorporate the cheese curds into the whole look, which I don't know where she was storing those. That's something I need to look into, putting my titties on top of my bra and storing cheese curds in there instead, because I think that might be better for me. So that's why I get why the judges liked it. If I had to pick my personal overall favorite for the week, it's probably Kiara's, actually, who did the Scarecrow
Hmm.
Babadook look. So I don't necessarily am completely in step with what the judges liked, but I got what they're going for.
Yeah, I mean, they also did say that it's about presentation too. You know what I mean? And she sold it coming down the runway, whereas maybe some of the other queens that did have maybe stronger looks didn't really sell it the same way. So I get it. I still
But
don't know if I would have awarded this the
yeah,
win.
it's like I get it, but I also don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, we get announced the results of the judging, and that is Anastasia, Alona, Kiara, Priyanka, Scarlett, and Tainomi are all announced to be safe. And then we get into the judging, which we end up finding that Boa, Jimbo, and Rita are all in the top. Kine, Lemon, and Juicebox are in the bottom. So we've talked a little bit about our opinions on this. So unless Aman, you have anything else you want to share, we can get into the lip sync, which ends up being Juicebox versus Lemon.
Not really. Other than that, like when I forget who says it. I think it's Jeffrey or maybe it's Alicia that says to Kind during the deliberation. Yeah, this isn't my favorite look of the night. She's like, well, it's my favorite, and I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. Like, what are you doing? And it wasn't even like, oh, well, it's mine. Like, trying to be endearing. You were just like rude. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It was incredibly rude. Now that because you mentioned at the beginning of this episode, now all I can think about is, oh, I think she's trying to be funny, and it's just really not translating at all.
Not at all.
At
At all.
all.
Like I feel like she spends so much time doing those YouTube videos that she forgets how to actually be a human being. So
That is my
strange.
nervousness for coming out of quarantine. I'm like, do I remember how to talk to people not on video?
Right.
But
Right.
hopefully it'll be okay. And then, oh yeah, I guess the other thing that I did want to touch on is Juicebox with her panic attack, which again, total empathy goes out to her. I thought that the judges
Yeah.
handled it really well. The other queens seemed to handle it really well. Rita gave her her coat, and then Juicebox getting back up and taking the rest of the critiques. Like, so proud of
Yeah.
her. Good on her.
I
And then
fucks with that.
turns it in the lip sync so much that
Mm-hmm.
we get Brooklyn Heights saying, ladies, this pay attention. This is how you do a lip sync. And I loved it. I loved the lip sync performance. It was to Carly Rae Jepsen, I Really Like You, which I hadn't heard the song in a while, so I was very happy to hear it again. I thought both queens really did a fantastic job.
Because Carly Rae is Canadian, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sticking with the theme here. But yeah, just to echo you a little bit, yeah, I appreciated that she was able to normalize having panic attacks in public and not shaming people for it. Like the more that we are allowed to like just experience it and talk through it and just like say, I know what's happening right now. Give me a second. I'll be good. Because you know what I mean? Because like she was supported and she was able to come out of it. You know what I mean? Because it could be a lot worse. So I really appreciate that they were supportive of her. They gave her the coat and everything, and it wasn't put on. It wasn't like, oh, let me try and have my moment here. I feel bad for him. It was like, no, literally, I'm like here, you know, fighting for my dream right now. I'm not getting good critiques. My anxiety is going through the roof right now. I need a second. Okay, I'm good. And then she fucking kills it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved this entire thing because I feel like this is. Never mind. Let's not talk about RuPaul. But anyway, I feel like, yeah, this lip sync was great. I feel like Lemon. I don't know if
it could have gone either way. I thought Lemon was gonna go, but then I really couldn't tell. It really could have gone either way. I assume that it actually probably came down to the outfits and the fact that I think there were things about Lemon's outfit that we could talk about as being positives. Whereas with Juice Box's, I'm trying to find something that I think is redeeming here. And it's just hard. But again, I wanted her to stay. I really liked her. So it was sad to see both of them go home. It's like, why can't we pull a season 12 and have a non-elim in our first episode? Keep these queens around for a little bit longer for me, please.
Yeah. It was sad to see her go, but somebody had to be the first, you know. So that's what it is.
So unfortunately, we say goodbye to Miss Juicebox, who becomes the Canadian version of Pork Chop. Adorable. And hopefully we will get to see her sometime in the future on our television screens. Now, next week's challenge, I forgot, but it's definitely an acting challenge. And if you remember, do you remember? I do not remember.
I didn't see the
oh, that's right. The next time
promo.
on. Okay. Yes. So we're going to get our first acting challenge. So that's something that we have to look forward to. And I think that about wraps it up for us. Aman, is there anything else you want to say about the very first episode of Canada's Drag Race?
No, I mean, nothing that if I haven't already said. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I want to get to know the rest of these queens. I'm interested to see how their arcs are going to play out. And I'm excited for Brooklyn Heights. I'm excited that Stacey McKenzie is getting some love as well, because a lot of people sort of always forget about Stacey, but she was a big fashion model in the 90s, Jamaican Canadian woman, beautiful woman. So I'm glad that she's a part of this. And of course, Jeffrey Boyer. I mean, you got to have some eye candy on there. So I think the three of them are a really good team. I feel like they're going to have good chemistry, and the three of them had so much fun. You know what I mean? Especially during the mini challenge, they were all like haha and kicking with one another. Like they had like a really good time on set. And so I hope that this continues throughout the rest of the show, and I hope that they are able to continue to have like this good space of empathy for the queens, because that's something that RuPaul really can't relate to. Because yes, RuPaul is the premier drag queen of the world, but he's never been on RuPaul's Drag Race. You know what I mean? Brooklyn has, so she gets it. So I hope that is going to be something that really sets this franchise apart from the main one.
Yeah, thank you for throwing some love on our other judges. I realized that we forgot to talk about our very own thruple of judges in detail, but we get Stacey McKenzie, we talked about Brooklyn Heights, and then Jeffrey Boyer Chapman, which I co-sign everything you're saying. They were just really fun together. And Stacey McKenzie, who's been what's the word I'm looking for? Judge. That's the word on Canada's Next Top Model. So she's familiar with that from already being a judge, knowing how to give critiques, knowing how to put a really positive spin on the critiques that she's delivering. I thought she was fantastic. I just, in summation, I had a fun time watching this episode, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season and how it's all going to play out. So, Aman, How can people find you? What are you up to? And just do all your plugs, girl.
You can find me at Amon Adwin on Twitter. Any Gleeks out there? Still going strong with my podcast with Matt Lagori for The Choir Room. We just dropped the back half of season 3, so check that out if you want to. And yeah, I'm kind of with the rest of you guys, just waiting to see if anything's going to happen for Big Brother All Stars. Don't know. Find out when everybody else finds out. Yeah, that's me.
Waiting with used to be baited, now semi-baited breath. Who knows at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And you can find me on social media on Twitter at Liana RHAP. I'm covering Survivor. We are doing the rewatch with the rest of the RHAP community. This week we are covering Cook Islands episode 6. We're going to talk about Plan Voodoo, talk about some dreams, and get into all that fun stuff. Also, we're covering the US season of Drag Race. So in terms of what we're going to do for Canada coverage, we're not sure yet. Stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to figure it out. Things are crazy schedule wise. We may be doing a separate podcast. It may be part of the US coverage. We're just going to do sort of a like 2-parter episode. So keep that in mind. We'll let y'all know when we make a decision, when stuff changes. But look, this is going to be a fun season. Whether we're talking about it or not, this is going to be a fun season. And so I hope that everybody out there enjoys the season as much as at least I enjoyed this first episode. And at the very least, I think we'll probably do an end of the season recap. So at the very least, look out for that. But until then, I think that's all we have for you. So check out robhasawebsite.com. Check out our Patreon. That allows us to do everything that we are able to do here. So just check out patreon.com. Rob has a podcast. Leave your star ratings and reviews on iTunes. Shout out to Scott St. Pierre behind the scenes for everything amazing that you do for us. And we will talk to y'all soon. Bye.